Okay, so Megan, do you like to just tell everyone what we're about to be talking about here?
Sure thing. Today, people, we're going to be talking about the Sin Dragon saga and other things related to fan fiction. Some of the stuff being collabs that Michael and I have done together, and other things are more about certain
Um,
authors we've both had the pleasure of dealing with.
yes. Uh, let's start out first though with Sin Dragon. First, just tell me what you think of the guy.
To be honest with you, I think he is a very disturbed individual. I'm sorry for saying it, but he is. And I probably wouldn't mind him so much if, he kind of, if he wouldn't broadcast his sexual fantasies for everyone to see. In other words, his fanfics. I mean, he's made it quite, he has a thing for Nala from The Lion King, which, although that's weird, I guess that is okay, but the fact that he's writing these really, really explicit and graphic fanfics about him screwing her is a little disturbing, if you know what I mean. And something that really bothers me about him is that he can't take criticism. You see, he sent me a private message shortly after we aired the Sin Dragon saga, and he was trying to claim that I was being a bully. And I think he even called you my mate, for God's sake, which was like, okay. And he said something that didn't make any sense about us crossing the line to Australia or something like that. And I even made a video message to him and even tried to send it to his YouTube channel, which I think he blocked me on there. How mature of him. But, pretty much telling him that there's going to be critics out there, and that if you can't take criticism, then you shouldn't be writing fanfics. But he probably still is writing fanfics, sadly. So,
Oh
I highly
yes.
doubt he's been listening to our criticism.
Oh, yes, he has been writing a lot more fanfics. And of course, just like Sin Dragon fashion, it all has something to do with Nala. He wrote a Beyblade fanfic that was a crossover with The Lion King. And the only thing that it has to do with The Lion King is that Sin Dragon has a Beyblade and its Bit Beast is Nala. That's all it has to do with The Lion King.
I'm not familiar with Beyblade, but something tells me that it doesn't cross over well with The Lion King. That'd be like crossing over Terminator with The Land Before Time.
Oh, now that you mention it, someone did do that.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. And someone made a crossover between Pearl Harbor and Land Before Time. I think we already discussed that.
Yeah, probably is the same person who thought it'd be a good idea to write a 9/11 fanfic with The Land Before Time, and we all remember how I reacted to that.
Oh no, it's a certain author that one person agrees with or likes.
Oh, I see. So, Michael, how did you feel about filming the entire Sin Dragon saga, parts 1 and 2? Did you have fun with it?
Yeah, but starting out, it was a bitch to record, really. I mean,
Yeah,
we kept having so many technical difficulties with this episode.
yeah. And I think our viewers need to know something. The entire Sin Dragon saga was not scripted. It was all improv and it was all filmed over Skype.
Yes, and we both shot it with two separate cameras also, even though we have webcams of our own, we want to put quality into our videos, so we took actual cameras. The only problem with this is that, sure, we get better quality, but that also means we have like a limited recording space and the battery can run out, which is what happened to both of us. Our batteries went, no way, no, your batteries kept going out. Mine just ran out of recording space for a while, so
Yeah.
I just had to send the file to my computer every so often.
Yeah. Well, I think the Sin Dragon saga, I think it was the first time I used the flip camera for filming anything related to fanfic critics, so it was my test run of the camera. And although it kept on running out of battery, I thought the video quality was really excellent. I mean, it was nice and clear, you could hear things fine, and the sound overall was great, so I'm glad I didn't film with the webcam, let's put it that way.
Yes, and of course I never film anything with a webcam unless it's just a quick video that takes like a few seconds to make, you know, like a quick announcement. But I'm really glad that we both created this. I mean, first, should we just try to tell them how this started anyway?
Sure. I mean, didn't it kind of start with the first special we kind of did together, The Honest Reviewer Gets His Revenge, where I had to read,
No, I don't, that's not really where it started. It kind of started with me. I was the first one to make a review on one of his fanfics. Yeah, it was called Lions in the Metal Jungle. The only reason I'm fucking up with the word jungle is because he spelled it wrong.
So didn't he have like the B after the G, so it technically would say metal jungle?
No, it came before the L. He put the E before the L, so it's spelled jungle or something. I don't know. It's just a fucked up way of saying it.
Yeah.
And I tried to do something funny. I tried to put a comment on that same fanfic on my fanfic page, telling them that someone did a review on one of your fanfics. You should go check it out. And it didn't take long to know that me and my fanfic account were one and the same person. So he typed to my video, my YouTube channel, and made a PM to my fanfic page telling me to shut the fuck up and get a life.
He seems to say that a lot, get a life. And so I believe your first request to me was to review Human and Lion King World.
Actually, if I remember, I just told you that. I think this all started when I told you that he had much more commas in his story. Like, how many commas did I say he had in that one story that I was reviewing? He met Lions in the Middle Jungle. I think like over 130 commas. And then I told you of the Human and Lion King World, and you said you had to review it. So how was that experience for you?
Oh, it was interesting. I mean, true, I only did a summarized review of it, but the fanfic was still pretty awful. And shortly after I aired the review, someone on YouTube by the name of Signal, insert number here, sent me a private message calling me a sad little girl, telling me to get a life. At that point, I didn't know it was actually Sin Dragon, so I just thought it was someone who was a Lion King fan who liked the fanfic being butthurt, so I just blocked them, and I realized later it was Sin Dragon when I talked to you about it a few months later, let's put it that way.
Yes, and and then we got more in depth into Sin Dragon stories when the first Media Slayer website was open to us, and you were sending IMs to each other. So, and I was joking around how you forgot to put the fuck up that I found on one of your fuck up episodes. Even though you told everyone when it was filmed, and I just kept joking around, telling you you're going to have to read a city fanfic by Sin Dragon. In fact, if I remember, the entire conversation that we've had in the IM was almost exactly the same as how we did it in the video.
Yeah, but it was a fun idea, and I remember having so much fun with that. My favorite line from that was, "God, hey.
Yeah, you got a lot of comments on that one part.
Yeah.
Oh my god, fanfic critic's gonna eat me!
I wasn't even dressed up as a fanfic critic in that episode. I think I was in like a black sweatshirt, and that video was technically the last video I ever filmed in that old location. The last episode I filmed in that old location was the Sonic 2 episode, and that episode's for another time. But, yeah, the Honest Reviewer Gets His Revenge video, that was the last episode I filmed at my parents' house, so it was a pretty memorable filming.
Yep, and I think after a while we eventually came back to his subject after a while of talking to each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, we reviewed 2 of his fanfics that time. That's when we had the special.
Yeah, originally the Sin Dragon Saga was supposed to be filmed in one huge sitting, but we realized that it was taking so long to film the first one. I think it took like all day. So I decided, when we were speaking in between the filming to wait for our cameras to charge, I think I pretty much said, okay, we'll finish this fanfic today, and then like maybe in a couple days we'll try to film the next one. And so that's how the Sin Dragon Saga was split in 2. Now, if we did try to make it into one super video, I think the video, if you combine parts 1 and 2, would have been like over 2 hours long. So it's probably good that we split it up. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and I remembered one argument Sin Dragon would make to us all the time. It would be like, if you don't like it, don't read it. But you want to know something funny?
What?
When we started reviewing Ho-Ho's Chosen One, that was really the first time I read it. I didn't know what to expect when we started filming, so he can't really use that excuse on me that time.
Yeah. Well, you know, the silly thing is, me and you were critics, so we're gonna be reading stuff even if we know we're not gonna like it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know. So that excuse, I mean, if you don't like something, then don't watch it / read it. I mean, you can use that excuse so far. I mean, sometimes it works, but other times it doesn't.
Yep. And, god damn it, what else? I think the most technical difficulties we had was with part 1, because that's where we kept fucking up everything. With our cameras just decided we don't want to be a part of this. Especially your camera. Your camera kept dying a lot.
Well, the thing is, this camera, it holds 8 gigs, I think, of information. However, the battery life is not that long, which kind of pisses me off. I'd say, like, at longest, it lasts, like, about... Well, the review itself we did was an hour and 30 minutes, but I think we were doing a lot of, like, filming in between, too, so I think that's what kind of killed the video. But when I use this camera to film other episodes of Fanfic Critic, after about, like, an hour, the video died.
Yeah. I mean, there was just so much problems with part 1 that we were just happy we got through it.
Yeah.
Yes, and we had to wait the next day to film part 2 because your camera needed to be recharged.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I have to say, Simba vs. Sin was so painful to read. It was atrocious, and just the end of it, you're like, what the heck were they thinking?
Yeah. Yes, that's the ending. Everyone seems to like the ending, especially you with your Yoda voice.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be Yoda, but if you guys really want to hear Yoda, this is Yoda.
Oh.
Now that's the Yoda voice.
Is there anything else we should say about Sin Dragon? I mean, we all know he's kind of a creep, but anything last words before we move on a little bit?
Well, I have to say, Sin Dragon is someone who likes to insert himself in a lot of his stories.
Yeah.
And it's fan fiction that tends to get really annoying, especially if every single one of your stories has you in it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. My favorite part of part 1 was when we were saying, I always wanted to fuck big cats. And when that happened, I was just like, oh, no shit! Because all of his other fanfics are basically love letters to Nala.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
And And the thing is, it's just gross because now you can't look at the character Nala the same ever again. Thank you, Sin Dragon. Thank you very much, you disturbing little man.
Yeah, so now that we're done with Sin Dragon, let's move on to another funny topic. Belmont 2500.
Oh, Belmont.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since we discussed him. Even though, quite honestly, even every time we bring him up, though, at occasions we still cringe at what he did on fanfiction.net. Well, what he wrote, technically.
Don't remind me of those 5 episodes. 5 episodes straight. I took a look at his work, and I filmed those episodes all within like a 2 to 3 night time. No, I think it was like a 2-day time span. I think I filmed like several of them in one night, and then the rest of them in another night. And by the time I was done, oh, I wanted to rip my hair out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Should we kind of remind everyone what happened with Mr. Belmont 2500?
Go ahead. I mean, you seem to have more. You seem to interact with him more than I did, because whenever I tried to talk to him, he never replied to me. So, tell me about your experience with him.
Oh yeah, well, I discovered Belmont 2500 like a while back when I was only on fanfiction.net and only came to YouTube just to check out videos.
Yeah.
I remember one time I found a story by him, and it was called The Land Before Time Unleashed, and I was wondering I kind of thought it was supposed to be a crossover between Land Before Time and Star Wars The Force Unleashed, so I kind of checked it out.
Yeah.
When I started reading, that's when the headaches started to happen with me. I mean, basically, his fanfics are about a character he created, which is a Gary Stu called Ethan Sullivan, going to the world of the Land Before Time and saving it from things that are belonging to other movies. It was fucking ridiculous. I mean, when I saw the first one, I mean, he made like, 5 other fanfics revolving around this. Well, yeah, 5 if you count the rewrite. But when I saw the original, I was reading to the part where Ethan was having his hard day at life, kind of like the first chapter of the rewrite. And when I got to the part where he was being sucked into the Land Before Time world and he was hearing voices that involved the events that came in the first movie, I was like, what the fuck? And after that, I just clicked on the go back button and never went back to that story. It wasn't really until I started publishing my fanfic, Land Before Time crossover with Balto, that I had a run-in. I again had another run-in with him. He started commenting on the fanfic, telling me it was good, which I'm shocked that he liked it at all.
Yeah.
He put the fanfic on his fanfic alert and on his favorites, and by that time I started to get a little wondering who this guy really is, and when I tried to check him out, I was like, oh god, it's the same person who wrote the fanfic I could not read because it was so fucking boring.
Yeah.
And then I decided, but by the time I went back to discover him, went to that page, I noticed the original was gone.
Yeah.
And he was rewriting them all, and I was like, oh god. And then that's where everything else comes into play. That I suddenly reviewed them, and even the fanfic critic reviewed them. Anything you would like to add to this?
Um, okay, well, let's talk about my run-ins with Belmont 2500. You, I believe, were the one who told me that I should check out these stories, and after I checked out, I think I like glanced through some of them, and I decided I was going to do a special, like, review all of them, like, in 5 episodes.
I warned you.
I read the first one, which was incomplete, by the way, but I didn't know that it went up to chapter 4, and I remember when I finished that review, I'm like, well, that kind of ended abruptly. So when I started episode 78, I had a freak out when he started to explain what happened in the first story that I didn't know about. I thought it was a deal that, you know, it was just that he was lazy and didn't post the rest of it, so I was freaking out, but I didn't realize it was a deal that he just didn't finish the story. So that fanfic frustrated me. I think the second story was when he decided to have the Land Before Time creatures and Ethan build a satellite in a time where technology doesn't exist yet.
Oh, I remember that. That was like one of the dumbest things I've ever read.
Indeed. The third story was just stupid, so...
Stupid? He had a scene where dinosaurs were being beaten up by a bunch of bikers with clubs.
Yeah.
Even though in the last story, the aliens couldn't do shit to the dinosaurs.
Yeah, it was stupid. It really was. And the fourth story, I think, was the story that pissed me off the most. The fact, first of all, Dracula as the main villain didn't make any sense. And it also didn't make any sense that Dracula's castle was naturally in the Land Before Time universe. And then when Ethan decided to start summoning all of these random movie and video game characters, that's what really pissed me off. And for the series as a whole, the character Ethan was just a jerk. I hated him. I didn't understand why any of the characters liked him. He was just a dick.
Well, he's a Gary store. Well, he's a Gary Stew. The characters are supposed to like them no matter what.
Well, then it's stupid because I hated him.
Oh yeah, so I can easily relate to you by hating that character. I was really frustrated when reading it. I mean, every time when Ethan acted like a total jackass to everyone, I was wondering to myself, why the hell should we like him? Seriously, why should we like him? He doesn't seem like a hero material. He's having these moments where he gets great powers for no fucking reason, and he's a complete and utter asshole. Why the fuck should we like him as a character at all?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and I think one of the ridiculous parts is when it was in the fourth story, Ethan and everyone were being attacked by two shark teeth, and the reason I'm not specifying who else was with him is because the author, Belmont 2500, doesn't give a shit about the Land Before Time characters, even though it's a Land Before Time fanfic, and he just writes them out to be a bunch of cardboards that don't do shit.
Indeed, I mean, it was just ridiculous. Littlefoot didn't even play the only characters that played a role were the background characters from the original film.
Well, no, it wasn't from the original. They were background characters from the sequels that had bigger roles than the original characters. From the fucking sequels.
Yeah.
The one thing that people consider to be the worst thing to happen to Land Before Time. But going back to the notion of what the ridiculous thing that happened is that when they were facing against two Sharptooths, Ethan suddenly goes into adamantium rage and starts and was able to cut their legs off with a sword. For some reason, he suddenly got this rage power that made him super strong and super everything, even though it doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, it didn't make any sense at all.
And it's even a big-lipped alligator moment, because they don't bring it up ever again. It's just a random moment that just happens that never really has anything else to do within the entire story. It just happens just to happen. And no one talks about it ever again.
I was going to say, overall, the Man Before Time, Journey Across Time fanfic, he was trying to be epic with them, but it just didn't work. There were too many plot holes. The characters were too unlikable.
Or out of character.
And it was just a mess. It was a mess of a story.
Yes, it was yes, and I believe there's a guy on fanfiction.net called Jedi472, I think it was, who was actually having his stories who Belmont was actually ripping off at the time, which was ridiculous.
Pissed me off too, because I don't think I knew about him ripping off that guy right away. When you told me, I'm like, oh really? Well, wow.
Yeah, and basically, this Jedi guy and Belmont kind of didn't really have a good relationship with each other. You know, they kind of Jedi really kind of loathed the guy really for kind of ripping him off and trying to claim it as original. But when Belmont took all of his stories down eventually, I remember that on the forum on the fanfiction forum that talked about his stories, Jedi replied by saying, "It's a shame that you took down your stories. I mean, they were just such a great lesson to all of us on what not to do." And I just had to agree with them. I mean, out of all the authors I had to deal with so far, no one quite pissed me off more than Belmont did.
Well, it kind of cracks me up because I know that Belmont, right after I had given him written reviews on his fanfics, pretty much telling him I was going to do episodes on them, all but his first fanfic disappeared from fanfiction.net. And then after I aired the first episode where I took a look at his fanfics, episode 77, that fanfic disappeared as well. So I'm wondering if he was paying attention to what was going on YouTube, but just didn't say anything. He actually did comment on one of my videos. I think the Honest Reviewer Gets His Revenge video. He said something like, "Oh, you do a good British accent," or something like that. So, makes me wonder if he was watching and just kept quiet.
Yeah, but I think he does pay attention to what happens on YouTube. I mean, I sent in my written review to his stories, and he found my videos about them, and he has some very interesting things to say about them, really. You remember this, don't you, Megan?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, he kind of got a little butthurt about how I was reviewing his stories. Let me see if I could find those comments. Like I said, he has been paying attention to things that happened on YouTube, because a year ago he wrote a comment on one of my reviews on his videos. Megan, would you like to read it for everyone?
Okay. So is this what you said or what he said?
That's what he said.
Okay,
and
so
yes,
Belmont...
I can't believe we actually had to do that joke unintentionally.
Okay, so this is what he said. So that is what the original version of Chapter 1 would sound like if read 10 times fast. As for the review, it sucks, although I do like the background music. However, T apostrophe is... What the hell? Been a long time... What does he mean by T apostrophe is?
I think he's supposed to... Yeah, I think so.
Well, he completely misspelled it. I mean, seriously?
Well, you do remember T-hen.
Yeah, but let's read it appropriately. been a while since I've gotten a good inspiration. I have started my own review show, and it will be done the right way. Yeah, and the review show he did never happened.
Oh, he only had like one video that got taken down only after a few days of it being up. It was a review of Secret of Nymph, and it was god awful. Do you remember that, Megan?
Yeah.
What did you think of it before we continue?
Think of
his review of Secret of Nymph.
Well, I didn't even watch the entire thing because I was that bored with it, and I think I watched like the first 5 seconds. So I'm like, okay, bye. So that was my thoughts of it.
Oh yeah, it was a piece of crap though. Alright, I can't believe it didn't get downloaded. I should have done that. Oh well, what can you do though? Let's see if I can find any other comments he left. Yeah, there was this one time he replied to me twice in a row. And I don't know which one came first because they both say a year old, so I'm just gonna post them both for you to read, Megan.
Okay. Alright. This is his first comment. About the quote-unquote gay joke, it's basically Ethan's reaction to tomboys, and if it is a quote-unquote gay joke as opposed to what I would call a quote-unquote tomboy joke, if anything, then your story is loaded with them. I know I've read it. Didn't you say that he actually liked your story? So he's kind of being contradicting himself here. Don't try to criticize someone for something you do yourself.
Yeah.
And then this is the second
wait. Can you hold on? What's so funny...
Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. What's so funny about this comment is that he's kind of calling me a hypocrite. Even though in that video I kind of explained that I really didn't know what the fuck was going on, and I just simply interpreted this certain scene that happened in the fanfic where both Ethan and Sarah were having a fight, and I literally interpreted as them having a conversation about Ethan being gay. Because he doesn't really explain anything that goes on in this story, so I just had to interpretate what was going on for him, and it did sound like they were having a conversation about being gay to me, you know?
Oh, it kind of came across that way, too. I mean, he kind of implied it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now for the second comment.
Alright then, hold on. Okay, so here's the second comment. So apparently you haven't heard about the updates yet, and this must explain my reviews. The story has gone in the last few months. The review, as always, is terrible, mostly because you read a lot of these stories with hardly any emotion, and you call yourself a writer. He's reading it based on how you wrote it. In other words, kiddo, you don't write with emotion. Also, a lot is one word, not two, of the threats in the original chapters, the one you read, were spoken in an icy, calm tone instead of being yelled out. Well, if you implied it was actually being yelling, and if you really wanted it to be an icy, calm tone, then maybe you should have exclamation marks where you don't need them. This goes for Ethan's comment about Andrew in the first chapter of both versions. Interesting.
Yes, and he's trying to tell us his rewritten version was better, but we'll get back to that later. I think that's the last thing he said to me so far. But before his fanfics got taken down, I kind of wrote this very lengthy review about his fanfic as a whole. No, I could go on about this, but now I'm starting to think this could be really too fucking long, so I guess I could just put this in the description of the video. If that's okay with you, Megan.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll also post, he also replied to me, but, and I'll put that also in the description. But, I guess what we really want to get across is that his fanfics really made no sense. they really did, and it was fucking stupid. And I can't believe that I had to suffer so much just by reading them. I mean, especially with the fourth one, where he had all the video game and movie heroes. I mean, he had like Simon Belmont, Alucard, Dante, Sora, Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield, Solid Snake, Laura Croft, Indiana Jones, Mario, Luigi, Sonic, Wario, and all the Power Rangers. Okay, so the ones that happened after Indiana Jones wasn't true, but all the other ones were in there. Oh, and Samus from Metroid was in it also for some reason.
Yeah.
What did you think about all that?
If you watch my review, you could tell I was pissed off about it. But let's just say it's simply like that.
Yeah, so you can see these two people really was kind of the bane of us that really made our reviews really painful to do sometimes because their fanfics were really that fucking bad. We could barely have ourselves get through them because, quite frankly, we didn't want to read any more of it.
Yeah.
Yes. So with that, I think we've discussed all we needed to discuss about these two people and what we have done regarding each other. So, if you don't mind, I guess we could end it right here, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. I'll let you go first.
Well, guys, thank you for listening, and I want to thank Michael for inviting me to this chat. It was fun discussing King Dragon and Belmont. A lot of fun, and hopefully we can do it again sometime, perhaps.
Yes, and with that, this has been another random Skype chat. See you guys later.